Hi there, this is Srikanth Sari. So, in this lesson, we are going to introduce ourselves to JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript is a client-side scripting language which is very famous in the world of web development. Okay, so JavaScript was came into existence from the year 1995. Okay, in the same year when Java has been released. Okay, so that's the reason. So the whatever the to use the popularity of Java, so they have just kept the name Java, and other than that, JavaScript and Java are two different worlds. Okay, so nothing to do with JavaScript. JavaScript has nothing to do with Java. Okay, so primarily the reason I have started this series is that our focus is entirely on learning the language constructs. Okay, so the most problem the programmers face is that they don't learn JavaScript, and they straight away JavaScript is like any other programming language like C or C++. It's a scripting language. It should not be called as a programming language. It's a scripting language, but the people don't learn JavaScript, and they straight away jump into using it, and which is not a good thing, and they immediately blame the language for their lack of knowledge, which is not a good thing. Okay, so JavaScript is one of the greatest programming language ever created, and it's in existence even after the 2 decades. It's still the number one language for de facto standard for client-side scripting. Okay, so there are many frameworks also came into existence like jQuery or AngularJS, and the world is very advanced today, but learning the core JavaScript is always an advantage. Okay, so coming to the language basics, any language has identifiers. Okay, so in this lesson we are going to learn about the identifiers here. Okay, so first, so what is an identifier? Is a name given in a JavaScript program. Okay, so in a JavaScript program, if you want to create an identifier, you need to use this where keyword here. Okay, so where, and there are certain rules for defining the identifiers, and the first rule is that so it should start with an letter. Okay, so I'm writing here the rules here, and let me put into a comment here. Okay, comment style I'm using here. Okay, so lines came automatically because I'm using NetBeans editor here, which is linked to my what we call Chrome. Okay, so there is a plugin given by Chrome people to automatically whatever the projects you are developing from the NetBeans, automatically the results can be seen in the Chrome. Okay, so the first rule is that the first rule is that it must start with an alphabet or underscore. Okay, so underscore or dollar. Okay, so these are the only things with which an alpha JavaScript identifier can start. Okay, the second thing is that it should not contain any so what we call should not contain any special characters. Okay, special characters except underscore. Wait a second. Okay, I have underscore and dollar. Okay, so underscore and dollar. Okay, so just misspelled the underscore here, underscore thing here. Okay, so let me okay, so this is the case here, and the third rule is that it should not contain any keywords. Okay, keywords or reserved words. Should not contain any keywords or reserved words. Okay, so there are some keywords at any language level, like for and if, for while, and so on and so forth, and they should not be used as identifiers in Java. So for example, if you take keywords like, let me write some examples here. You're really coming from programming background, if you know C or C++ or Java, you know what is a keyword. Then for, while, and so on and so forth, all those things are there in JavaScript also. So it should not, gaps are not allowed. The last rule is that gaps are not allowed between in the words in identifiers. Okay, so these are the sorry, I have misspelled the word here. Identifiers. Okay, so these are the words which are very rules which are very important while writing the identifiers. Okay, so let me create an identifier here. Let us see what happens here. You must use a where keyword in JavaScript. You can, because there is a JavaScript is a weakly typed programming language. Okay, it's not strongly typed like Java or C or C++. Okay, so it's weakly typed. So that means you don't have data types here like int or primitive types. You don't have. So based on the value you are giving, so let me write where x is equal to some 10. Okay, so based on the value you are giving, the type is decided by the JavaScript engine. So here you have a 10 as a value to the variable x, so type of the x becomes number. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can check it out like this. So if you say something like this, document dot, okay, so automatically with the help of NetBeans IDE, it's an IDE, wonderful IDE, you can know the type of x here, type, okay, type of, in the brackets, so you can say something like this, x. Okay, so now if you run the code here, here I can press F6 from my keyboard. Automatically the output pops up in the Chrome. Okay, so type of is number here. Okay, so if you observe here, the output has been decided as number. Okay, so in that way, so here, okay, so if you say something like this, if you violate any of the rules here while defining an identifier, so identifier can be a variable or an object or a function name, it can be anything. Okay, so if you violate the rules and if you say something like this, automatically since we are using a so it's saying something like this, like missing space after numeric literal. Okay, so it thinks that it's an ugly identifier, it's not allowed. And if you run in this case here, so if you go back to your Chrome here, if you come out of the screen and if you go back to your Chrome, something happens here. Okay, so the abnormal termination had happened. Okay, so JavaScript is not that good at providing you with errors, and like any other programming language, you must be very careful while writing the identifiers in Java. So here we have misspelled the identifier. The identifier is wrong here, it's not allowed because dates are not allowed in the beginning. Okay, so in the same way, if you are using any bad identifier like here, okay, so automatically if you are using a for, which is a keyword, automatically expected binding identifier or pattern, so all the messages are ID specific here. Okay, so not allowed, since for is a keyword, you are not allowed to use, nothing happens here. Okay, so if you go back to your, if you press F6 here once again, and output doesn't appear. Okay, so you have used a bad identifier. Okay, so that is the case, bad identifier, and output doesn't come here. Okay, so in the same way, so if you are violating the rule once again, if you say my where, something like this, if you again have used the space here, again once again you have violated the rule number 4 here, which is the gaps are not allowed while defining the identifiers, and the same thing happened here, and that is not going to work here. And if you once again press F6 and nothing happens in the Chrome, nothing, okay, nothing comes here. Okay, so just if you don't violate any rule here, we didn't violate any of the rules. Okay, we have kept a nice variable here, my where is equal to 10, and if you just say my where here, automatically the output comes very well here. Okay, so type of my where is will be displayed as number. Okay, so if you want to just display the data, you can take the thing document.write once again here, so document.write once again, and happily you can say if you want to dump the value out there, you can just remove the type of thing here, and if you just save it and press F6 here, automatically the value 2 comes, whatever the value you have stored here, which is 10. Okay, so in that way, and also the last thing, so except it can start with a underscore. Okay, so if you start with underscore, no problem here for you. Okay, or you can start with an dollar, no problem for you. if we can start with a dollar, no problem for you, but not with a digit. Okay, so that is not allowed. You can have digits but not at the beginning, and you can have digits at the ending here. Okay, so my where 1 2 3, that works perfectly. And if you place those things here once again, 1 2 3 or something like this, and if you save your code and if you press F6, so happily the code runs and it gives you the output number and 10. Okay, and also gaps are not allowed, and special characters are not, except underscore and dollar are not, except underscore and dollar, and any other special characters are not allowed. You can happily have a dollar in the beginning, that is not a problem. You can have underscore, underscore, dollar, underscore. You can construct a complex variable also, so you can use that variable within your document.write statements just to put the what we call thing here. Okay, so just to display the content, you can press F6, automatically the output pops up here. Nothing problem has been shown. Okay, so and another good thing, good practice is that always keep the identifiers meaningful and not crazy as like what I did here. Identifiers must be meaningful, and they must be specific to the purpose what we are using. Okay, so tomorrow if you are building any class or building any program for a person there, or an employee or a student, if you are building an object in the whatever the members and that object will contain should be meaningful. Okay, like if you're developing an object for a student, and there it should be meaningful, something like what we call a student has a roll number, name, an ID, an address, an email, a phone number, and so on and so forth. Instead of using X, Y, Z, something like this, you must give some meaningful names for identifiers. Okay, so that's all about JavaScript identifiers. So see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.